Hi, I'm Amanda Saladin from Love Life Yarn, and today we're going to discover how we can crochet perfect borders every time. This is part of a free 10-day workshop where you can learn all about how to crochet better baby blankets. But even if you aren't making a blanket, this information applies to all crocheted borders. If you would like more information about the free workshop and want a new lesson every day for 10 days absolutely free, click on the link below in the description. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below so you don't miss a new tutorial. Nothing is more upsetting than working hard on a project and having the border puckered and uneven. Sometimes you don't know where to insert the hook or how many stitches to work on the side of the stitches. So today, we're going to look at some helpful tips and tricks that will help you crochet beautiful borders every time. Let's get started. First, for truly even borders, work a round of single crochet first, even if the pattern doesn't call for it. The single crochet stitches will help even out any uneven areas and get your blanket ready for the border called for in the pattern. This has really helped me out. Love using that and just going through, especially like it helps too if you go ahead and do it in the same color as the body if you can, unless it's different colors, because that will help even it out too for the next round of the border, especially if it's a contrasting color. Number 2, when working corners, 3 stitches are usually worked in the corner, or what I like to do is to work a stitch, chain 1, and another stitch in the same corner space. So that just helps to turn the corner. Number 3, when working into the sides of stitches, you work 1 stitch into the side of a single crochet, so if you're working the side of the rows, 2 stitches into the side of a double crochet, and 3 stitches into the side of a treble crochet. So some problems that I'll show you with my hook and yarn is that if you find your border is producing a ruffled look, you have too many stitches. And if you find that your blanket body is gathering, so like it's kind of weird, then you have too few stitches in your border. So we'll look at that in just a minute. Always check your border for evenness after the first row before moving on. So I even sometimes will just 10 or 20 stitches, and I will stop and look to see how it's lying and if I like it. Okay, got my swatches here, and I'm gonna start with this one right here and use a different yarn for the border. So I'm just gonna join my yarn here, and we're gonna work just a single crochet around the border. So it's single crochet first, because that works out well to make it nice and even, to give you an even edge. This is called the blanket stitch, this stitch pattern right here, and it really does look nice for blankets. And so we're going to work across this. You can see our stitches in the top row. So we're going to try to even them out a little bit since they're making this little pattern. Okay, when I got this about this far on a blanket, I always like to stop and look. And this is looking nice and even. So I would check it out before I went on even further on my rows. Obviously, a blanket's gonna have a lot longer than this, so this looks good. And I'll keep working. I'm getting to my corner. Okay, now this is my corner space. You can work 3 single crochet in here, or a single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, which is my favorite. So I'm going to work into the turning chain. Okay, so I always have to use my fingernail for when I do a turning chain like that, because this is an old swatch that I made before I started using the chainless double crochet method. So I chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, same space. Okay, so this allows it to turn the corner and lie flat. Okay, now we'll turn, and that was supposed to be place of a double, so I'm going to put another single crochet right here, because remember two, I hope I made it really loose, hold on. You work 2 single crochets into a double crochet side of the stitch. Now I'm not going to work in between the rows in this right here. That's a common mistake a lot of people make, and so I'm not going to work there. I'm going to work 2 single crochets in this next double, not work in the middle, 2 singles, and then I'm going to check to see how this is looking. So it's looking kind of flat, nice and flat there, and it doesn't look puckered or anything. So if you had put in a single crochet right here, it would have been off, like it would have dipped down further, and then it would have distorted that. So let's keep skipping that space between. All right, here's my last, and this is going to be the turning chain in the corner. So single crochet, chain 1, and sometimes I'll come over like right here and single crochet and check it out. Especially a corner, I always check to see how my corner looks, because occasionally, like there, I think I'm going to change my mind on that. Take out my chain space, and I really think for this one that probably this stitch needs to be the corner. So if you check it out and you don't like the way it looks, you can always take it right back out. So just make sure you check it immediately when you do it. Single, chain, single. Yeah, that looks much better to me as the corner. Okay, I like that. And now I'm working, you can see where I had to skip 2 chains here. We're on the bottom on our foundation chain. And the one that we worked into. And then 2, stitch that was worked into. Okay, again, I'm going to check it. Okay, it's looking fine to me. Keep working to the end. The reason I picked a small swatch was so that we could go all the way around it together without me boring you to death by working all the middle rows here, the middle stitches. All right. Okay, so I'm going to actually put my corner right here. And then I'm going to check it. That looks fine. Now you see how this end over here looked nice and even. I'm going to show you now what will happen if you put too many. So let's say I worked in between here. And this used to be something that I would do. See, this side looks a little bit different. So I'm going to go ahead and work 2. Let's say I just go ahead and work in every space. And this one, say I just guess, and I'm like, okay, well this space gets 2, and this space gets 2. And I just go ahead and I go to town, putting a lot more. There's a lot more stitches on this side right now than the other side, because I'm doing 2 in each one of these and not skipping that space between rows. Nope, come on. And you can see it's not lying as flat as the other. See, this edge looks nice and even. They're spaced out nicely. And then over here, let's turn it the same way. You can see the stitches are curling more to the inside, and it's just kind of uneven with this. So this has too many stitches. It's not as severe as some, but you see how it's starting to like pucker, like right there, it's not lying flat at all. It actually is starting to do the little wave thing where like eventually it would be like this. Whereas this edge has no inclination of doing that. It's nice and flat. So if you want this look right here, if you see this happening where these stitches are bunching up together on themselves like that, you know you have too many stitches. So you'll need to go ahead and take those back out. I said always check. Okay, there's my corner. I always check after about 10 stitches or so to see what's going on with it. Okay, now I'm going to skip that space. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and check it. It's looking better. All right, and this one started out with a single crochet, so I need to single crochet, chain one, and join with a slip stitch. Okay, so that is how you would do the single crochet border to where it looks nice and even, and it gives you a good foundation for starting the regular pattern. So like I said, even if it doesn't call for it, I often will do this anyways. Now if you're, so we work two single crochets into the side of each double. So if you had a single crochet stitch pattern, just work a single crochet into each single crochet row. And then with the trebles, if you were doing that big, you would do 3 single crochets into the side of each treble row. So it really depends if you're doing a stitch pattern like this. This was mostly double crochet, so I chose 2. If you have one that's mostly, you know, shorter or taller than that, you would just choose according to whatever height your stitches are. Okay, so that's our even round of single crochet ready for a beautiful border. Okay, so let's take this single crochet swatch that we have here and let us look at what happens if you have too many stitches and too few. So let me join my yarn again. I'm just using a contrasting yarn. Okay, so this one has a nice even single crochet pattern with that single crochet chain 1. And we're just working across, so I'll check it out. Tried to use, they're all worsted weight yarns, but I just grabbed some swatches that I had on hand. So I like the way it turned out with our single crochet round. And I'll show you here on the side what will happen if I work too many and too few stitches in. Like I said, the top, you know, when you come across, it's pretty easy to tell how many stitches to do because you're really just putting 1 stitch in each stitch. And the same thing with the foundation chain. You can tell how many stitches need to go on the foundation chain as well. So let's say that I'm working this right here. Okay, it's a little bit different weight, so it's curling a little bit, but this is definitely would be flat if I'd used the same yarn. And I'm going to work my corner. Okay, and let's say that I'm going to put too many stitches on purpose in here. Obviously you wouldn't do this on purpose, but let's just say we're doing this, going along, I'm going to put 2 here just to, say if you accidentally put 2 in a row that only needed 1 and you were just guessing and putting your hook anywhere. Okay, let's see. All right, see how it's already like curling like big time. Okay, that is an indication of too many stitches. So let me go a little bit further on it so you can see again. And I'm just estimating. I know you wouldn't normally put 2 stitches in a single crochet row, but let's just pretend this was a different stitch and you didn't know and you were just working along. And this one looks a little bit taller than the rest, so it could have another stitch in there. Okay, and we're just pretending here that we are working away. I found that people often will overestimate how many stitches they need and put too many like this than the opposite. So here is our problem. I mean, look at this. It does not want to lie flat. Let me put it this way. It's like, woo. I mean, kind of, this fabric curls a little bit, but this, if you see this ruffling, you have too many stitches. Okay. Let's pull this out so you can see it's exactly the same here. Now it wants to ruffle a little just because of what happened to it. We had an extra stitch there. Okay. Now let's say you're doing too few stitches. And you're just guessing, maybe you're doing every other one. Sometimes this works, but it depends on the stitch pattern, and a lot of times it does not. So since this is a single crochet fabric, I should be working in every single row. And instead, I'm working in every other row. Does make it go up faster, doesn't it? But it's not going to be the look that we want. So when the body of the blanket puckers like this, and it pulls, when you try to pull it tight, and you see they don't really stretch like they're supposed to, you can see how you have too few stitches. Okay, the right amount is going to lie nice and flat, like we talked about with this, and we have too few here. Even if I stretched out some of it, that might help, but eventually you would see it go back to the body of the blanket puckering like this. So when you had that ruffled look, it was too many. This is too few. This is the look we want right here. Nice and flat. Okay, a lot of people have trouble with their borders because of this. So if you can go ahead and even it out with a nice even round of single crochet, it will help your border to lie so much better, to be flatter and to look more professional. That's something that I've learned over the years. So for this one, it would really be 1 stitch in each row, with it being a single crochet, a double crocheted fabric like this one would get, oh, there they are, 2 stitches. This is kind of a mixed, it's got doubles, so I'd put 2 here and then 1 in the single crochet, 2 here, 1 in the single crochet, 2 here, and so that is how you would work these. Let's look at this one. This is a double crochet with a V stitch pattern. Okay, so since these are doubles, you would want to work 2 double crochet in these. See where it's like longer here and this is shorter? I would work 2 in here and I'd skip that. 2 in here, skip the smaller space. 2 in here, skip the small space. 2 in here, and then that would help it to look nice and even. So like I said, go back when you're working on this and you make a few stitches. For me, it's usually 10 or so. Before I get very far, I get literally about this far on a blanket, and then I stop and I lay it down. I look at it flat. Is it going to lie the way I want it to? If it is not, I immediately take it back out before I go any farther, and I readjust to think, how many stitches am I going to need to make this lie flat? Okay, so like here on the side, like I said, I had the 2, and then I did not work into this space between the double crochets. And like I mentioned with this one, when you look at the side, you can see some holes are bigger than others. The larger holes are the ones that are the double crochets that you work into, and the smaller ones, so here's the larger hole, and then the smaller hole, which looks close to the same size, is the space. Go ahead, don't do that. You can try, and if it doesn't seem to be enough stitches and it's doing that where it's pulling, then you can reevaluate if maybe you need to go into every other one of these. Okay, so that is some of the tips and tricks I've picked up over the years for beautiful even borders. In the Better Baby Blankets course, we will look at more in depth on this topic, as well as a lot of the most common stitches. We'll look at shells, we'll look at the picot stitches, a lot of different borders, and how to do them beautifully. So if you know how to do this basic single crochet evenly, it's going to help you out a lot. So I hope you find this information helpful on how to crochet perfect borders. I know it's helped me a lot with my blankets and borders for sweaters, and just having that one row of single crochet first really evens it out. And then you can go on to work a beautiful even border. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.